All right, the 9th and final part of the Poetry Interpretation Kit lecture. So once you've come up with that silly answer, or later when you've come up with a potentially correct answer, you want to test your answer, and you're looking for yes to these questions. Does your answer fit everything else we know? Does it make sense given what we've got on that? There's a critic, she's passed away now, I think her name was Marjorie Perloff, and I saw a video with her where her example of this was someone saying, oh, this poem is really about the Vietnam War. And she would say, well, except it was written long before the Vietnam War, so that doesn't really make sense. So does your answer fit what else we know? Would your answer fit other poems by the same author, by the same poet? And do you have evidence from the poem? So we actually see quite a bit about that gleaner. So if we're making some guesses about the gleaner, I might have been able to say, that gleaner really is lying down inside a brook, because look how tired this gleaner is in other places. That's evidence from the poem. So it might have been okay in that sense. It just doesn't make logical sense. Did you find research that we trust? Are you sure it's not a middle school student who just made up their answers? And could other people reasonably come to the same interpretation? Now, in poetry, we often disagree about how to interpret it, what it really means, what the poet's really up to, and that's totally fine. That's part of the thrill of the humanities for some people, and part of the frustration of the humanities for some people, that there could be more than one right answer. But some answers are better supported than others. So you don't have to agree with the way somebody else is looking at the poem. If your view of a poem or your interpretation is different, that could be fine, but you do have to have support for it. And does your answer avoid analogy? So here's where I think these analogies come from. We hear poetry used at things like graduation ceremonies or in sermons sometimes, and people say the road not taken is about the choices that you're going to make in your life. I really feel like anyone who uses the road not taken at a graduation ceremony should have a pie thrown at them. But that's where that habit comes from. That's pop culture. That's graduation speeches. That's bad sermons. That's not what literary interpretation is about. Also, does your interpretation or your analysis or your answer avoid undue speculation? Like that sort of, maybe Keats was in love with a girl named Autumn. Well, maybe he was. Is there any way we can find that out? Probably not. So probably not a good interpretation. How to use what you're learning here. Obviously, one of the things we're trying to do is give you some tools to understand poems better, but to practice analyzing poems, not just understand them, but to be picking them apart and seeing what they are up to. You might want to, at this point, go back and watch. I have probably posted the lecture from my composition classes on what is analysis and even what is rhetorical analysis. You may want to go back and look at that. But understanding a poem is also a way to enjoy a poem. If you feel lost, you're probably not going to enjoy yourself. If you find your way, you're more likely to be enjoying them. Doing this kind of analysis also is going to help you remember the poems for the quizzes. You might be writing about them for the quizzes, but actually, I should just take that line out. I don't ask people to do writing and quizzes anymore. I just do writing and skill checks and recognition for quizzes. But you may be also recognizing poetic devices in other writing, in the prose that we're reading. And on a basic level, this is just you continuing to practice analysis, which is a cognitive skill that will stand you in good stead for other classes, but also the workplace, and also just being a citizen and a human trying to function. And that's it. Happy autumn.